Hello ladies and gents, welcome back your lovely faces to a brand new video here on the channel. Today I thought we would do something a little bit of fun, a little bit of showing and thinking what could be Johnny Depp's best film for you in obviously like the tier lists. And obviously we're not going to choose all the ones I got here, which I currently have, I believe it's like 40 titles, 40 or 41 titles, and we're not going to use them all obviously. But I thought we would have a little look and do our own little thing like this. I haven't chosen every single movie he's been in either, but the ones we have got are, you know, the well-known ones. Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously his very first film, Cry Baby. I've kind of left out like Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and a few other ones like the 21 Jump Street, excuse me, just for the cameos and where he's starred in films, but he's not the star or a prominent role. They've just used him to be advertising. We've left those out. But as you can see by here, we do have quite a substantial amount. And what I thought we would do, we'd basically not go in order, but just go from the top row. Which, as you can see by here, we have Murder on the Orient Express, Fantastic Beasts, Alice in Wonderland 2, Black Mass, Mordecai, you know, we're going to go along like that. And for me, straight away, Murder on the Orient Express, I do actually really like Agatha Christie. And obviously, I do love murder mysteries. Murder mysteries are some of the best genres going. But for a Johnny Depp film, for me, this was more of an ensemble piece. So for me, I will be putting that in the B ranking. We do have other ones on here, which, going through these at the moment, I've probably got maybe 3 or 4 in the S tier. Obviously, S tier is superstardom in my eyes. And obviously, if you can see, you can notice, we haven't got all the pirates, but I've lumped them all into one. So when we get down to this one by here, Pirates of the Caribbean, that's going to be all 5 films. So we got Fantastic Beasts, the very first one. To me, he's not really in it that much, and it's not really a Johnny Depp film. So for me, that's going in D straight away. Now we're on Alice in Wonderland 2. And for me, looking through the looking glass, they kind of saw how much the first film made, which was over $1 billion. Then they kind of went, oh, let's try and emulate that, but let's give Johnny Depp a more prominent role because obviously he's the reason the first one did so well, which it wasn't. You know, he was a very good film, the first one, but the second one was just, in my eyes, it just didn't have that Tim Burton feel. They wanted it to look like Tim Burton. They wanted it to feel like Tim Burton, but they never hired Tim Burton to direct it. In my eyes, that's why that one there goes into D, because to me, it was a failure. Now, Black Mass. One of the best crime films of the last decade and a half, I will say that. A lot of people went into it, and a lot of people thought, you know, the critics now this is, and a couple of like user reviews, they all go on about his eyes. His eyes are this, his eyes are that. It takes away from the actual acting. It takes it away from this. No, that's what Whitey Bulger had. That's what he looked like. And to me, this is actually one of Johnny Depp's best main starring roles, because during this time, it was Pirates, it was Mordecai, The Lone Ranger, it was all these action comedies and all this kind of stuff. Black Mass literally gives something to Johnny Depp where he could get his teeth into. So to me, that is in the A ranking. Mordecai. Absolute dumbest film going, but it's just so funny. And it's just Johnny Depp just playing an eccentric version of himself, or an even more eccentric version of himself. But to me, though, I put that in B. Now, Into the Woods. I absolutely hate this film, so straight away I'm just going to put this into D because it's not a Johnny Depp film really, now is it? It was more along the lines of, ooh, let's have Johnny Depp because he's in other Pirates films, he's in the Alice films. Let's put him in this and let's make him a singing wolf. That's what they did. And again, it was just abysmal in my eyes. Transcendence. With this film, when I first saw it, I was with my ex, And she's a huge Johnny Depp fan. But with this one, it wasn't advertised what it was. They tried making it out to be some kind of futuristic AI action movie. And it's nothing like that. Which, to be honest with you, is good, because Transcendence, in my eyes, is actually one of his stronger films. Because it goes from him being a scientist who's currently about to snuff it, and he's like, right, I'm going to upload my conscience to the cloud, to the fam. And they did it, and to be honest with you, it was absolutely brilliant. And it was done by, I believe it was Wally Fisher, the cinematographer of like the Dark Knight films and Inception, the Christopher Nolan films. So that's why it's got that grandiose interstellar kind of look. But for me, I will be putting that in the C ranking. Lone Ranger. Oof. What hasn't been said about the Lone Ranger, ladies and gentlemen? For me, the Lone Ranger, it was a good, fun Saturday afternoon movie. I didn't go see this in the cinema, and to be honest with you, I do think he was a little bit mismatched as playing Tonto. And even though the comedy is all there for him, it's called The Lone Ranger. It's meant to be on The Lone Ranger. But again, no, when you have the biggest star in the world at the time, because obviously he was still doing the pirate films, they were all coming out in the last year or two as well, it was a bit like you're focusing more on the sidekick than the actual character of the main star, which was Armie Hammer at the time. But with The Lone Ranger, whenever you hear the William Tell overture, it just kicks in and it's just so much fun. But for me, though, that is in B. Dark Shadows straight away is going in my A, because for me, Dark Shadows, it showed something that was missing from the movies around that time. And that was just dark humour. There wasn't enough of it out there at the time. You had a few things here and there. You had, like, obviously you had Ted, the talking teddy bear from Seth MacFarlane. But then there was a few things going on where a lot of just general movies, they just didn't like dark humour. And this was more along the macabre style, and it was just good fun. And plus, I actually enjoy the old TV series Dark Shadows. You know, only seen a couple of episodes, but what I saw of them, I really enjoyed them. So that's by there. Rum Diary, I'm putting that straight to D, because we're not going to be talking about that one, because I think we all know why. But to me, though, seeing that film, it wasn't exactly great. And I really do think that Johnny Depp just phoned that one in. That's just me, though. Rango, straight away going up to 8. Rango is just so much fun. I think what makes it fun is just the way that it's just a great animated film, you know? And I believe it won the Oscar as well. Should we have a look? It did. It won the Best Animated Feature, the 84th Academy Awards, which is absolutely amazing. And it's like I said, it is a great film. You know, it's talking Chameleon. Who doesn't want to see that, like, you know? Now, The Tourist. Johnny Depp, Angelina Jolie. Johnny Depp's character gets dragged into it, and to be honest with you, it's a good little crime rom-com romp. And with that there, to me, I do think it goes into B, and the chemistry between the two as well. You can just see that if these people were in more films together, they would just be great. They would be like how Brad Pitt and Jolie were in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The chemistry was just there. Alice in Wonderland, the very first one. So, Alice in Wonderland. What do we think about this one, folks? To me, this was the better of the two live-action Alice in Wonderland films. But again, no, it was Tim Burton. Tim Burton visuals. Tim Burton set design. Tim Burton just getting his fingers and throwing them all into the Play-Doh and being like, this is mine. We're going to make it great. And it is a great movie. So for me, I will be sticking that in the A ranking. Now, this is where we get my first S tier. Public Enemies. Now with this one, for me, it's not just because it's Johnny Depp. Public Enemies is written and directed by Michael Mann. Michael Mann, to me, is the greatest director, greatest writer, and just one of the best creative minds in all of film. For me, my number one film of all time is Heat. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore. It's just got so many amazing people. It's just too long the list. And for a crime film, It is a crime epic. It's just brilliant. Heat is in my, like, that's why to me it's my #1 film. Public Enemies is my first S-tier Johnny Depp film because of Michael Mann as well. And when you have Johnny Depp playing John Dillinger and the way he goes about acting, and when you look at history and you see like old photos, old news articles, even old film and newsreels of the real life John Dillinger, the way he acted, the way he carried himself, Johnny Depp has that down to a T in that film. But also, who can forget Channing Tatum as Pretty Boy Floyd, who gets killed at the very beginning by Christian Bale? Come on, when you have a film that stars Johnny Depp, Christian Bale, Channing Tatum, Stephen Graham, who goes on to be in Pirates of the Caribbean with him, it's just such a huge, huge movie. And it didn't get the love that I think it deserves. That's why, to me, though, it is an S tier, just because everyone involved, and overall, it's actually a really, really good crime film. It's fantastic. Sweeney Todd. Who would have thought I would have had 2 in a row going into the S tier? For me, Sweeney Todd it's the pinnacle of Tim Burton and Johnny Depp together. This was also one of the films where Johnny Depp was actually nominated for a Best Actor Oscar. He sadly lost that year. Sweeney Todd, to me, is, if Tim Burton didn't make Batman 89, Sweeney Todd would be his best film. But to me, Batman is Tim Burton's greatest film he's ever made, followed very closely by Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd, it's just got everything that makes a Tim Burton movie. And when you throw in Johnny Depp at the time, who also likes that kind of humor, and he works well with Tim Burton, it's like they're the same person. But Sweeney Todd, mwah, chef's kiss of a movie. Corpse Bride, for me, goes in B. I do like animated films, and I do like The Nightmare Before Christmas and all those kind of films. But Corpse Bride, for me, it won exactly, this is amazing. But that's why it's in my B. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory goes into A. Again, Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, Willy Wonka, written by the amazing Roald Dahl, who is a local legend to me because he was literally in this area where he was born and raised and where he died. And it's Roald Dahl, you know, Roald Dahl is just amazing. Secret Window. For me, that goes in A. David Koepp, writer-director, Secret Window is obviously about the author who goes to a cabin to write his new book, and because he's got writer's block, and he literally thinks he's going nuts. Such a great film. Once Upon a Time in Mexico goes into A for me. Again, it's the people who are starring in it, but also the people behind the camera. Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez, to me, is one of the best indie filmmakers going. Even though he's an independent, you know, he finances all his own films, a bit like George Lucas, through his Troublemaker Studios. But some of the films this guy's given us is some of the best of the genre. Obviously, Once Upon a Time in Mexico is the 3rd installment of Rodriguez's El Mariachi trilogy. And again, for me, Desperado is the best out of those 3, which is the 2nd film. But with this one, Antonio Banderas, Johnny Depp, Salma Hayek, Willem Dafoe, Mickey Rourke on his comeback. It was just so many great people in this film. And to be honest with you, Johnny Depp, when he's in it, his role as the FBI agent is more comedic. Up and towards the end where he actually, you know, he has his eyes removed, he has sunglasses on, and he has the 2 Mac-10 machine guns, and he just goes to town, and is awesome. The 5 Pirates of the Caribbean films. We have reached that level, ladies and gentlemen. In this film, out of the 5, 3 of them are S tier. That's why I put that one in there. Even though it's got 2 films, which they're alright, you know, which for me is At World's End, the 3rd one, and On Stranger Tides, which is the 4th one. And for me, it goes 2, 1, 5, 3, then 4. But again, no, Pirates of the Caribbean. That's what made Johnny Depp into this huge, huge global superstar where the majority of the time when he was in big films, they were almost reaching $1 billion each time. Just great. And to be honest with you, the entire series overall is just mwah. It's one of the best decisions Disney ever did, and I will say that. From Hell, for me, goes into S tier again, because I absolutely love these kind of movies. And when you've got the Hughes brothers, who are the ones who wrote it and directed it, and obviously it is based on a graphic novel, which, again, I love graphic novels. That one there is written by, oh my god, I can't remember his name now. Alan Moore, big beard, English dude. And his stories normally tend to be on the more graphic, mature, and a bit of the macabre side. And seeing him playing the detective who's come into town to try and solve the Jack the Ripper murders is just amazing. Like, as I said at the start as well, there's a few films on here where, like I say, I haven't even seen them, so I will be leaving these down below, which will be this one by here. But we got Blow straight away into B. Not a bad movie. Could have been a bit better, but overall, I do think Penelope Cruz is the best thing in that movie. Chocolat, haven't seen it, so I can't really judge that one. The Man Who Cried. Again, I haven't seen this one, so we've still got them there. Sleepy Hollow goes straight into A. So again, Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, but you got Christopher Walken, you've got Heather Graham, you got, not Heather Graham, sorry, she was in From Hell. But you got so many amazing people in that film. And it's also written by Andrew Kevin Walker, the guy who wrote the 90s masterpiece of crime, Seven. You have that one by there. But then you have The Astronaut's Wife, which was a very weird film, to be honest with you. I did watch it, but I haven't seen it for a long, long time. Yeah, I can't remember about it. So we're going to leave that one off the list. Donnie Brasco. What is there not to say about Donnie Brasco, but it's a fantastic mob movie. Obviously, Johnny Depp plays Donnie Brasco, the main character, who's infiltrated the I believe it's the Bonanno, if I remember correctly, crime family. And obviously, Al Pacino takes him under his wing, and he's like, we'll get there, we'll make all the money. But then Donnie Brasco turns them all in. Great movie. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is definitely an S tier. To me, this is probably the film which made Johnny Depp go completely full on crazy acting. Like, you know, it was just like, yes, that's exactly how he was. He fired his ashes out of a cannon for when he passed. That's just amazing. But the visuals as well in it is just, when they're on the road trip and they're having the, literally the trip in their minds as well. So funny, and it's no other thing has caught that kind of drug-taking hallucination scenes to anything ever again. That is the only film that I can think of which shows out when someone is tripping out, that's it. Then you now go on to Nick of Time. Nick of Time, again, not a bad little thriller where he has to, obviously Nick of Time, where he has to get into it, but for me, it is a B tier. You know, you had quite a few, I believe Christopher Walken was in it again, I can't remember specifically, but it wasn't bad. He just had to get something and get the timing right before, what was it? It was in court, wasn't it? You know, it's like I say, there's some films on here I remember which, like that. But when you got ones like Nick of Time, Blow, you know, those kind of things, like I remember them, but I don't remember a lot about them. But then, for me, I look at Public Enemies. I look at, say, obviously the pirate films, Black Mass, Dark Shadows. You can remember things. I think that's just your way your brain telling you like them more. These are what you should remember. Those sort of things. Dead Man. Now with this one, I'm going to leave this one here. Same as Don Juan DeMarco, because I haven't seen them. But again, people, let me know what you think about these and down below, and how your selections are currently matching up. Ed Wood. A. Ed Wood, again, directed by Tim Burton, playing Ed Wood, the director who was classed as the worst director ever in the history of motion pictures. He just brought the excuse me, didn't even know what that word was. He brought that kind of eccentric lifestyle to the film. And to be honest with you, filming in black and white was a pure genius back then in the 40s and the 50s and going into the 60s, films were still being made in black and white. And having that one like that, reminiscing on the times of when that character was around, and just seeing him on, Plan 9 from Outer Space, just seeing that and how he's directing it is absolutely hysterical. What's Eating Gilbert Grape? For me, it's a B. It does have the absolutely amazing performance from Leonardo DiCaprio and the way Johnny Depp plays the older brother, but it's just like, yeah, okay, it's an alright film, so that's why for me it goes into B. Now we got another one there which I haven't seen, Benny and June, not my cup of tea. Again, this is just my list, which for me, Benny and June goes into C. Edward Scissorhands. What can be said, Again, growing up, I didn't really like this film. Mostly because, not that I found it weird, I just found it a little bit too out there for my likings, for what I established as Tim Burton. Remember, I was born in 1986, so for me, seeing Tim Burton films growing up, it was Batman Returns. Then it was like Mars Attacks and those kind of films, Which to me, I was like, yeah, those are Tim Burton films. And then with Edward Scissorhands, when I was shown it, I was like, what is this? Beetlejuice, another fantastic, phenomenal film, top 10 film for me of all time. But with Edward Scissorhands, it is going to go in the B. Then we come up to Cry Baby. Again, not my type of movie. I've seen it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was alright. But for me, it's going into C. Now, everyone knows I am a horror nut. And that is why A Nightmare on Elm Street is S tier. There's just no other words about it, Again, it's not really a Johnny Depp film. It's more of a Heather Langenkamp film. But Johnny Depp plays the incredible role of the boyfriend. And who can forget Johnny Depp's death scene, again, sucked into a bed. Brilliant. S tier. Now, I haven't seen Jean du Barry yet, so we will be leaving it by here. But going by the reviews and the way the film looks, I'm assuming I'll probably put it in the A or the B ranking. Minamata, I gotta admit, I love Minamata. For me, it just highlights a very important issue, which is currently going on in Minamata over in Japan and everywhere else, where no one believed them, They literally just like, oh yeah, whatever. We don't care about the people if they're dying from the magnesium and everything else in the water. But playing the character, the real life character, and he's the one who's photographing everything, and the real life photos, they are disturbing, but that's what they're meant to be. Now this one here, Waiting for the Barbarians, I saw it and I turned it off halfway through. I was just bored out of my mind. For me, that's a D. But then we got City of Lies, which again, I love crime films. Crime films are just absolutely amazing in my eyes. And apart from horror, they're my favourite category. I just love seeing crime films from anywhere in the world, really, because we have seen so many crime films coming out of Asian locations. So India, obviously Korea, Japan, China, all these places, they've had phenomenal crime films. And City of Lies is actually one of the better ones, which is made on a not so small but not so large scale of the budgets. And to be honest with you, we need more films like City of Lies to come out, because all we're getting now is superhero films and remakes and reboots and requels or whatever you want to call them. And to be honest with you, they're getting kind of boring. I say we need to get more films like City of Lies, Public Enemies. Hell, give us more films like From Hell. More of those kind of serial killer type films. There's not enough out there in my eyes. Now we come to the last one. Fantastic Beasts 2. Crimes of Grindelwald. That is going in A because, again, it is a good film. And to be honest with you, with this one here, I put this in the A ranking because without Johnny Depp in that role, the film would have been boring as hell. Because a lot of stuff just doesn't happen in that film. Obviously, the third one came out not so long ago. And, well, let's just say they've put the franchise on hold. If they brought Johnny Depp back, guarantee it would make 800 to 900 million. They'd be like, yeah, okay, this is it. It's a Johnny Depp picture. Don't get me wrong. You know, Mads Mikkelsen, the guy who took over for him, I absolutely adore that guy. His roles when he plays a villain is, especially as Hannibal Lecter. But I think it was a bad choice getting rid of Johnny Depp, especially after what happened. Especially when we all found out that his wife did indeed lie about him. But that's it, ladies and gents. Obviously, like I said, these ones by here, they're ones I haven't seen or can't really remember that much. So we are leaving them by there. I have done this on tiermaker.com. So if you would like to go out and make your own tier list for Johnny Depp, you know, go and do it. It's just a great bit of fun, you know, where you would put things. But for me, this is my list. I'll show you one more time. This is my list. This is what I think is the best of the Johnny Depp films that I like personally. Let me know down below what you love the most. So if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Let me know, like I said, down below your favourite films, where you would put these, and what is your number one best film for Johnny Depp. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you soon.